Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight's going to be movie content. For today's video, we are going to be tier ranking all 102 movies that I watched in 2022. It's the third year in the row I'm doing this and I'm very excited. Because there's so many movies to talk about in one video, I'm not going to go into depth for each video description or for each movie description. I already have a video about the top 10 best movies I watched this year and a video for the top 10 worst movies I watched this year. So I will link those up above. And I basically did wrap-ups for every month too. If there is a film where you want to hear an in-depth opinion, you could go search for those videos elsewhere. The only movies I may give some decent reviews on are the movies I watched in November and December, just because I did not make videos dedicated to those months. First, let's go over the tiers I made. So in the first tier for the best movies, I have "And the Oscar Goes To," which is where my top 10 movies, or my top 10 best movies of the year are going to go. Below that, I have "And the Nominees Are." This is where I'm going to put the movies that I gave about 4.5 out of 5 stars to. And then after that is "Congrats, you made the short list." This is where the 4 out of 5 star movies are going to go. Then we have "An Enjoyable Watch," which is where the 3 out of 5 star movies are going to go. Below that is "At Least You Tried," which is about 2.5 out of 5 stars. Why I held up 5, I don't know when I meant to say 2.5. Then after that we have "Oh Girl, Absolutely Not," and this is a 2 out of 5 star tier ranking. These are the ones that were this close to making the top 10 worst movies of the year. And then finally we have "And the Razzie Goes To," which is where the top 10 worst movies I watched in 2022 are gonna go. Then we have the very bottom tier rank, which is just rewatch. Alright, like I said, we have 102 movies to go through, so let's get started. So the first movie I watched in 2022 was The Secret of Kells. This movie is about the making of the Book of Kells, which you can find in Ireland. It's part of Cartoon Saloon Irish Trilogy. The story is a mixture of Catholicism and ancient Celtic culture. This movie, they get along pretty well, and I thought this movie was cute. I thought this was an enjoyable watch. It got a little boring at times, so that's why I didn't rate it above a 3.5 out of 5 star. Then we have Belle, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I went into the theater thinking it was going to be a 5 out of 5 star movie, but unfortunately I think I gave it 3 stars. So yeah, it was an enjoyable watch. I did cry a few times, and I do love the music, but just as a narrative was pretty weird. Then we have Song of the Sea, which is about a sulky girl. This is one of the cutest movies I've ever seen. I cried. It gave me everything I wanted in a movie like about Irish culture. One of the best movies I watched in 2022. So, and the Oscar goes to. It deserves all the accolades. It's actually in my top 3 movies of 2022. Next we have Wolf Walkers, which is about a little girl who meets another little girl who can turn into a wolf. And in this one, it is Christianity mixed with ancient Celtic folklore, except in this movie the two cultures do not get along. I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's either in "And the Nominees Are" or "Congrats, you made the short list." I'll put it in "And the Nominees Are" for now, and if I change my mind, I will switch it around. No, I think this movie made the short list. It's not an actual nominee for me, from what I remember of the plot. Whatever, we could change things as we go along. But next we have the first Mamma Mia movie. This was a rewatch. I rewatched it because I went to an ABBA-themed disco night. That was real fun. And it made me want to watch the movie, and therefore I also rewatched Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I also rewatched Hairspray, but that's because I saw Hairspray, I don't want to say on Broadway, but I did see it on stage, Broadway in Chicago. And what a fun musical. What a fun movie too. The older I get, the more I love it, especially the song You Can't Stop the Beat. It's so fun, and quite frankly, I actually like how the movie ends more than the musical. Then we have Turning Red, which is one of Disney Pixar's newer movies. I loved this movie. I cried a few times. I'm gonna put it in "And the Nominees Are." Actually, well, if it's gonna go there, because I did like Wolf Walkers better, I believe. It was so nice to see a movie made by the girls for the girls. I feel like there's so many like girl movies out there where there's still some part of it to pander to boys, but this one, it was all about girlhood and what it was like to be a preteen. I related to this movie so much. So many embarrassing moments from when I was like 12, 13 years old came back to me. You know, the love of boy bands, the fan fiction, the trial and errors of parenthood, I guess, because just like Mei Lee, I had a lot of issues with me and my mom growing up. Growing pains, like that's the phrase I'm looking for. Something about movies where like it starts off with rocky mother-daughter relationships and them learning to like forgive and love each other. Love that trope. It hits a little too close to home. That may be why I love it so much, but like Uncle Buck is another movie that does it so well. But again, we're rambling. Let's move on. So then we entered the phase of 2022 where I was watching a bunch of Oscar Best Picture nominees. The first one being Belfast, which is about a boy growing up during the Troubles of Ireland. I thought this movie was just okay. An enjoyable watch, 3 out of 5 stars. Then we have Don't Look Up, which is basically about the apocalypse. This was such a bizarre movie, and I was shocked it was a Best Picture nominee. It didn't feel like Oscar worthy, and it wasn't like a good movie, but I still kind of enjoyed myself watching it. It's satirical, that's the thing. The thing with satirical movies is that if the satire doesn't land, it's just awkward for everyone around. So, and this movie had moments, but it also had moments where it was pretty funny. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, so it was an enjoyable watch. I think I'm gonna put it here. No, because I'm obsessed with the music of Belle still, so I'll put it there. Then we have The Power of the Dog. It's about a guy whose brother marries a woman who already has a kid. He's not too happy about it, has the secrets of his own. Again, I only watched it because of the whole Oscar nominee thing. Otherwise, I would have never watched it. I don't like Westerns. This ended up being one of the worst movies I watched in 2022. But like I said in that video, I don't want to nag on it too much just because for this movie, it's just not my genre. It was cool to see like all the foreshadowing come together by the end of the film, but it's just not my genre. It's one of those it's not you, it's me things. Then we have Licorice Pizza, which is a coming-of-age movie. 17-year-old boy and a 25-year-old girl end up falling in love, having romantic feelings for each other, whatever. This movie I felt really weird about because of the fucking age gap. But like some moments were cute. And like the guy, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, very charming kid. So I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. It's kind of a low 3 out of 5. We're just gonna leave it at that. 13 Ghosts, which is a remake of the 60s movie. This movie was garbage. I hated everything about this. Surprisingly, it didn't make it to the worst movies of 2022, but I was not a fan. Someone forced me to watch this because I told him in 2021 I watched all the Studio Ghibli movies, and then he rudely asked how old I was because he thought they were movies for 5-year-olds. And then he made me watch 13 Ghosts because he wanted to show me what real cinema is. And it was bad. Then we have Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge. I watched this because I saw it on not Broadway. I keep saying Broadway. I saw the musical version when it came to Chicago. The movie was okay, I think. I love the musical. I love the musical so much more than the movie. It was so pretty to look at because Baz Luhrmann is a pretty, like, exuberant director when it comes to visuals, but like part of me wants to put it in congrats you made the shortlist, but like because I didn't hate it and I did like the music, but also I don't think Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor could sing particularly well. It's a weird one because I did like the story, I did like the dancing, I don't know, but it didn't make the we'll put it here. The high end of an enjoyable watch. I rewatched The Prince of Egypt around Easter time. I love this movie. Every song in this movie is a banger. Then we have Perfect Blue, which is a thriller movie about a girl being stalked and losing her mind. And y'all, if you see my other videos, y'all already know this was my best movie of 2022 because it fucked me up. We have another anime movie called Bubble. It takes place in the universe where Tokyo is overrun by bubbles because of a bubble explosion. A bubble turns into a human girl. It is basically Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid, but with a happier, not happier, but with a softer tone. I didn't like this. This is one of the worst movies I watched in 2022. It should have been a 12-episode long anime rather than an hour 45-minute movie. And then I went to the theaters with some friends and watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and this made it to my top movies of 2022. I laughed, I cried, I screamed. What an amazing movie about family with a great moral that no matter what universe you are in, there's always going to be those people who are the most important to you. Then I watched 1968's Romeo and Juliet. I watched it just to say I watched it. I ended up really loving it because it like changed my mind about the story of Romeo and Juliet. It made me appreciate it just because of how convincing these two were. These two actually had me believing that love at first sight exists. And despite the story taking place in 2 days, I thought their love was real. Going into it, I obviously knew their end. I knew their fate. And yet I was still upset that they died. I was rooting for them to survive. And this also made one of the best movies I watched in 2022. So, and it goes in the top one, and the Oscar goes to. Then I kind of went on a rewatching binge because the new Pixar movie Lightyear was coming out, and I kind of just wanted a refresher on Toy Story before going to see it. First, I watched Tin Toy, which is the Pixar short that you see before the very first Toy Story movie. My God, that baby looks so creepy now. But yep, it was a rewatch. It's still as entertaining as it was when I was a kid. And of course, I rewatched the first Toy Story. We rewatched Toy Story 2, which I cried now. I didn't really cry as a kid, but I cried a lot during this one. And Toy Story 3, which I bawled. Then I watched a short called La Luna. This is a boy learning the job of his dad and his grandpa, the family business. This was real cute. Kind of want to put it, you made the short list though, because I thought like the visuals and the noises were real cute, and it was just a cute story. I'll put it in the short list. Like, it made the short list, but like the low end of the short list. There's another short called One Man Band, which is about 2 one-man bands. That's, how do you say that? It was whatever. I mean, it was enjoyable, but also like, at least you tried in a sense. I did a whole Disney World trip, made a vlog about it. But the reason I planned this trip is because I never got to see Galaxy's Edge, aka Star Wars Land, and we love a good Star Wars land. So in celebration, to get ready for it, I decided to rewatch all the Star Wars movies because I haven't seen them in so long. I needed a refresher. So the first one we have is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Then in between that, I watched a short because I'm trying to watch every Star Wars thing on Disney Plus because I want to tier rank it one day. It's going to take a while to get there. But there's a short called The, like, Wonderful, Faithful Wookiee, What Have You. This was fucking weird. This was boring. The animation was ugly. I don't even want to say at least you tried. I just didn't like anything about it. So, oh girl, absolutely not. But then we watched Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why I said we. I watched it by myself. That's all I was able to watch, though, before the Disney World trip. So while I was in Florida, my friends had to work, so I could not get into the park, so I went to Disney Springs and watched Lightyear, Disney Pixar's Lightyear, which is Buzz Lightyear's origin story, but it's also the movie that Andy watched to get him obsessed with the toy. And I think Andy needs better taste in movies. I didn't really like this, but it's also not the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't know, I felt like it could have been a lot better. So I'm not going to put it here, oh girl, at least you tried, because it wasn't that bad, but... Or, sorry, oh girl, absolutely not, because it wasn't that bad. But it wasn't enjoyable either, so at least you tried. At least you tried, Pixar, but you've definitely made it a lot better. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which I tend to like more than other people. A lot of people hated this. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was a fun watch. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which is a fucking slog and one of my least favorites of all 9 movies. Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith. Now that is my favorite movie. It's my favorite episodes out of all 9 episodes. I love a good villain origin story, which is essentially the prequels are, especially Episode 3. The music, especially during the battle scenes, the whole youngling scene that a lot of people found corny and laughed at, I actually thought was pretty sad and teared up a bit. When Darth Vader finds out what's-her-face, Padme is dead, and he's like on his knees screaming, "No!" I laughed so hard. Love everything about Episode 3. Best Star Wars movie of all time. Then we move on to everyone's favorite movies, the sequels, which is obviously a joke because I know how y'all feel about them. However, I have a lot of unpopular opinions about them. I actually really liked Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It made me real excited about the new upcoming trilogy. I liked what I saw. I rewatched Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, which is also part of my bottom 3 when it comes to the 9 episodes. It was better upon my rewatch, but also still kind of a slog. I was bored. And then we have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, which I know everyone fucking hates. However, do I agree with a lot of the criticism? Yeah, because I don't think it's a good movie. I think the writing's horrible. However, I actually had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with how bad that movie is. To me, it's a so bad it's good movie. Then I watched Missing Link, which is a stop-motion movie from Laika, and it's about an explorer who finds Bigfoot, aka Sasquatch, and now they're on their way to find Yetis to make a family for him. It's one of the worst movies I watched in 2022, and the Razzie goes to The Missing Link. Then I watched the original Stepford Wives that came out in the 70s. This one is a little bit difficult because I watched this having already watched the 90s comedy version with Matthew Broderick. I think it's the 90s. And it was during that movie where my dad told me how this movie ends. Telling me the ending ruined the whole experience for this specific movie. It was fun seeing like the foreshadowing and connecting all those pieces. And if I think about the script from a perspective of someone who hadn't watched the movie, I do think it is a very well done script. So I'll put it in enjoyable watch. It just would have been a lot better if I hadn't already known everything about it. We will put it right here. Then I watched Mitchell's vs. the Machines, which is a family on their way to college and then technology takes over the world. Beautiful animation. I love the comic book style. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I love a good family movie. See, as much as I love, like, something about the trope, rocky relationship with your parents and you learn to love them, this one had it with daughter and father. And I loved it. I mean, I could predict almost, like, everything that was happening in the movie, but I still found it very entertaining. I am going to put it in, and the nominees are... Then I found out they made a new Orphan movie. They made a prequel. So I decided to rewatch Orphan, because since it's been so many years since I watched it, I used to be obsessed with the movie back in middle school, and I thought it was so cool that I was like the main actress's age. It wasn't as good during the rewatch. It's had the trope I'm so tired of. I'm so tired of the horror trope where like the wives are being gaslighted, even though everything they're saying makes perfect sense. But Isabelle Fuhrman's still a great actress. I rewatched The Crucible. That's a reaction you can find on YouTube. That is actually still a very good movie. And then we watched Orphan First Kill, which again is the prequel to Orphan. Different vibe than the original movie, and like fair warning, you cannot watch Orphan First Kill without having seen the original Orphan. The storytelling of Orphan First Kill really relies on you having already seen Orphan and knowing the plot twist. It's a totally different vibe though. It gets really campy at some point. To me, it's like a so bad it's good movie. Like critically, I wouldn't rate it very high, but it was very enjoyable. I don't know. Do I want to put it on the high end of this or the short end of this? You know what? I'm going to put it in short list because it still was fun. Still was fun. Then I watched The Last Thing Mary Saw, which takes place in 1800s. Rich family, poor servant. Daughter of the rich family is in love with the poor servant. It's a lesbian story. It's a Hereditary wannabe. That's what I called it. Very slow pace, very eerie ambiance. I was here for the ambiance. Wasn't here for the slow pace. Quite frankly, I thought this movie was boring. I will put it on the low end of At Least You Tried because I did really like that eerie ambiance. Then I rewatched The Haunted Mansion, which is a very fun movie. If you do not like this movie, you do not like fun. I watched Elvis with Austin Butler, who just got nominated. Very well-deserved nomination. He did a stupendous job. However, I wasn't really a fan of this movie. I didn't like it as much as I really wanted to. Too long. That's my thing with Baz Luhrmann movies. I love his visuals. This had great visuals, great montages. His movies are just too long. But it wasn't that bad. I'm going to put it in At Least You Tried because I did enjoy it than the rest of these movies. Then we watched Disney's live action remake of Pinocchio, and I went on a long rant about why I hate this. I think it's insulting. They never should have made it. It is one of the worst movies I watched in 2022. Garbage. Absolute garbage. But having said that, then I watched The House of the Devil, which is like another haunted house type. I know it's actually not a haunted house movie, but the title gives away the plot twist. It's another satanic type of thing. It was one of the best movies I watched in 2022. I've seen many a film with this plot line, so I'm not sure why it unsettled me so much, and I just could not get myself to give it less than 5 out of 5 stars. Vivarium, which is about a couple that gets suckered into taking care of this kid that grows up way too fast. This movie was annoying. Girl, absolutely fucking not. I rewatched Titanic. This is one of those movies when I see it on TV, I gotta just sit down and watch it. I was standing there for 10 minutes having no plans to as my dad was watching that, but I kept rattling off fun facts about the film, and that's when I got the hint where I like should just shut the fuck up and sit down and watch it. Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales was okay. I'm a little too old for this one. At Least You Tried. It'll go on the low end of that. Then I watched The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which I reacted to. This movie fucked me up. This is about a doctor who has taken possession of this guy who's a sleepwalker. The sleepwalker commits crimes in his sleep. I was expecting to have one conversation at the end of my video, but then that plot twist threw me for a loop and I had a whole different conversation. Just a great movie all around. It made my top movies of the year list. Then I watched Rob Zombie's The Munsters, which is like a prequel to the 1960s TV show. It's about how Lily and Herman met. I went a long rant about this one. It is one of the worst movies I watched in 2022. It deserves a Razzie. If you are a Munsters fan, I do not recommend it. I rewatched the first Hocus Pocus to get ready for the sequel. I watched The Wolfman for Halloween. I reacted to it so you guys can find that. But I thought it was okay. It was enjoyable while I was watching it. I will put it here. Hocus Pocus 2. I'm going to shortlist this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm actually shocked by how much I enjoyed the sequel. I was expecting it to be garbage because the sequels tend to be garbage. I mean, is the original better? Yeah, but the original also has that nostalgic factor to it, so of course I don't think the second one would ever be better. I'm shocked by how much I liked it too. I was expecting it to be garbage. Gerald's Game. This one was a weird one. It was an enjoyable watch until I got to the end. The ending kind of ruined this for me. I'm going to put it in At Least You Tried. Then we have Hush, which is about a deaf woman. Someone breaks into her house and she's trying to survive. This was enjoyable. I don't think I'm ever going to rewatch it, but it was enjoyable. I would put it on the high end of that. Very simple story. There's not a lot. There's actually no plot twist. It's just simply a woman trying to survive, which I appreciate. That could be a fun movie. Then we watched A Creature of the Black Lagoon. This was like a 2.5 out of 5 star watch for me. So, but like at the high end. I did react to it, and if you watch my reaction, I got kind of real annoyed. I was actually taking the creature side more often. It's like the zoology major in me. Huge advocate of just leaving nature alone. He wouldn't have attacked y'all if y'all didn't invade his home. I'm just saying. We have Veronica, which is supposedly based on a true story about a girl who messed with a Ouija board, and now she's gonna die in 3 days because of some demon that took over her. This movie was weird. It was sold to me as the scariest movie of all time. It was not scary. The last 20 minutes did kind of freak me out a bit, but that first hour and 20 minutes could not decide what vibe it was going for. It was a comedy at one point. It was horror at one point. It was campy at one point, which was super weird. I mean, it's not like the worst thing I've ever seen, but it is definitely in the At Least You Tried category. I think I'm going to put it here just because the last 20 minutes did kind of freak me out a bit. And actually, I'm moving this to here. No, here. No, yeah, here. Ready or Not, which is about a woman who marries into a family that are mega rich because of all the toys and games they invented. At midnight, they have to play a game. She chooses hide and seek, so now the whole family's trying to kill her. It's a horror comedy. I laughed, I cringed, I screamed all in one sitting. It gave me the comedy. Everyone's jokes landed so well. The ending took me the fuck out. I was laughing so hard. More movies like this, please. This made it to my top 3 movies of 2022 because I had so much fun with it. I haven't had this much fun with a movie in so long. I highly recommend it. I went on a Disney cruise with some of my friends. We rewatched Pitch Perfect. Wasn't my choice to rewatch it. I just went with the flow. Then we watched one of my worst movies of the year. It made my top 3 worst movies of the year, Zombies, because in the hotel room you have a TV and you can pick a bunch of movies. Zombies was one of them. My friend swore it was real good for a Disney Channel movie. I thought it was garbage. Then I got home from the cruise and went on a Tim Burton binge. I rewatched Nightmare Before Christmas, my favorite movie of all time. I rewatched Corpse Bride, and I've seen this movie so many times, but those vows that Victor say gets me every time, makes me want to. I've heard them so many times, and every time I hear them, I just want to fall in love. And then I rewatched Frankenweenie. It's about a kid who brings his dog back to life. Y'all are sleeping on this movie. Then I watched The School for Good and Evil, which I hated. Not this much. It did not make my worst movies, but they didn't even try. It's, I'll put it here. I feel like the bad girl, she could have done so much more with how bad she was. I didn't feel like she was evil enough. There was so much more that could have been done to make her like a worse person, but fell flat, was garbage, didn't like it. Apparently the books are a lot better though. I wouldn't know, I didn't read them. Then I watched for the first time The Blair Witch Project, which I am putting in the nominees. This movie scared the fucking shit out of me. It's literally number 11 of the year, so it didn't quite make the top 10. But it is number 11 because of how much it scared me. It's been so long since a movie scared me the way this one did. I kid you not, in the last 5 minutes of the movie where they were running in the house, I had my earbuds. I was literally looking down and had my big fat earbuds like away from my ears because I was just so scared about what was going to happen. I was a chicken. I'm a baby. I was so scared that I had to watch a kids movie. So I watched Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, which is a rewatch. I was scared to go to bed that night. I had to sleep with the lights on. Not because of Scooby-Doo, but because of the Blair Witch Project. That's how much it messed me up. Then we have Eli, which is about a kid who's so sick he can't go outside. I got real pissed off with the plot twist of this one because it just made this movie like every other Halloween movie I've seen. However, the last 30 minutes were so bizarre, it was kind of entertaining. So I'm gonna actually put this, despite my feelings about the plot twist, I am still gonna put this in enjoyable watch. Then I watched Werewolf by Night, which I was not a fan of. I went into it not knowing it was gonna be a Marvel movie. I'm not really a huge fan of Marvel movies, but I wanted to give it a chance once I saw that. Didn't like it. We will put it here. Then I watched Mickey Mouse the Spooktacular, whatever. This was cute. This was an enjoyable watch. Then I watched the original 13 Ghosts, inspired by the fact I was forced to watch the remake earlier this year. It's about a family that moves into a house and there's 13 ghosts, but you can only see them when you're wearing these special type of glasses. It was an enjoyable watch. I can kind of see why people don't talk about it anymore. I believe in the 60s when it came out, like, you as the audience member also had to wear these glasses in order to see the ghost. It's been re-edited, so you don't have to do that anymore. I feel like now that it's been re-edited and we're watching it the way we're watching it now, it took away from that experience. Like, I didn't watch the movie that was sold to me, if that makes sense. Then I went on a binge with short films, just because why not? Suck of Blood, campy. Loved it. This is gonna go in short list. Then we have Alma, which is about dolls. I really like this one. You kind of had to make guesses about the world yourself, which I thought was clever. I'm actually gonna put this in the nominees. Fox, which is about a girl taken over by foxes. I hated everything about this. Then I watched Who's Hungry, which is the same concept as that. Kids being kidnapped. Weirdly enough, one of the best films I watched in 2022. Oh my god, I forgot to screen record. I do this every time. Then I watched The Haunting. As an adaptation, I wasn't like super impressed. I liked it as I was watching it, but the more I thought about it, the more annoyed I was. So this is actually going to go on the lower end of an enjoyable watch, because it's definitely better than all of these movies, so I don't want to put it on the same level. So I guess from my perspective as someone who has read the book and thought the book was terrifying, not as enjoyable, but as a movie on its own, it is a lot better. So I'm going to compromise, put it here. And then we move on to the movies I watched in November. The first movie I watched in November was Key and Peele's Wendell and Wild. She's a troubled girl and she makes a deal with a demon. I was really excited for this. I like Jordan Peele's movies. I love animation. I was a little let down. My problem with it, like so many of these films, is that, again, I feel like they tried putting too much in such a short movie. It introduced a lot of great concepts. I just wish there was more development. Rarely do I ever want a movie to be longer than it is, but I feel like this could have been a little longer, or maybe even like a limited TV series. But this was an enjoyable watch at the end. Kind of, actually, I would say the low end of shortlist. Then we have Falling for Christmas, which is a Lindsay Lohan movie. Apparently her comeback. This was crap. I mean, it's a Hallmark-esque movie. I hate Hallmark movies. Cartoon Saloon's My Father's Dragon. But this is based off a book and it's about a boy who discovers a dragon. It's a beautiful story of bravery, essentially. And one of our characters learns that sometimes it is okay to ask for help, which I thought was a great moral. Yeah, we're gonna, no. Okay, yeah. We're gonna leave it at that. Then we have Zen, Grogu, and the Dust Bunnies, which is a Studio Ghibli Star Wars thing. I mean, no plot, just vibes. It was cute. It's literally 3 minutes long. A lot of people on Letterboxd don't like it. They think it's a waste of time. And it's clearly like a test run for something, like maybe a future project, a different style of animation, which sure, maybe. Despite the fact it was just vibes, I still thought it was cute. I still thought it was enjoyable. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, the title kind of explains that. This is by far one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It is the worst movie I watched in 2022. Then I watched The Snowman, which is about a snowman that comes to life and brings a boy to the North Pole. First, it was a 3 out of 5 star watch for me. It was kind of slow going, and then, I don't know, like the plot, plot-wise, I didn't see anything like special about it, and then the end I just didn't like at all. The animation, however, given the art style looks like a straight out of a picture book. The animation, stupendous, fantastic, amazing, splendid. We love to see it. I did give it 2.5 out of 5 stars because of the story writing, but because of that animation, I'm gonna put it on the high end of at least you tried. So around this time in November, Wednesday by Tim Burton had not yet premiered, but it was getting close, so I was in the mood to watch The Addams Family, the 90s movies. So I rewatched both of them, and I had a swell time. Wednesday, of course, is iconic. I so badly want whatever Gomez and Morticia have. They just worship each other, and that's what I want in a relationship. He literally tells her in the first movie,
to live without you, only that would be torture.
God, when? When is it my turn? And the Thanksgiving play scene in The Addams Family Values lives in my head rent-free. We love to see it, especially at the end when she holds up that match. And actually, as a kid, I remember liking The Addams Family Values better than the first one. I'm not sure why, and even now during my rewatch, I liked it better. Because of Wednesday, my Addams Family special interest came back, but that's a rant for another video. And then I believe the last movie, I can't remember if this is the last movie or the second to last movie I watched in November, but it's another rewatch, which is Mrs. Doubtfire. Robin Williams gets a divorce from, what's her face? Not Sally Hawkins, Sally Fields. And in order to see his kids more, he dresses up as this Mrs. Doubtfire and is hired as their nanny. As a 10-year-old, I remember just laughing my way through this movie, but rewatching it at 25, I sobbed the whole way through. I feel like just this rewatch gave me like a different idea of this film, because as a kid I always thought Sally Fields was like the villain of this movie. As an adult, I think they're both, I don't want to say they're both bad people, because if any, they're just both parents who have flaws and are in a very difficult situation. Neither of them are the good guy. I mean, because Robin Williams' character, he's not really responsible. He goes from job after job after job. He makes Sally Fields be the bad cop. However, before the whole Mrs. Doubtfire mess, we did see her like actively use his kids against him and like weaponize them against him, and she wouldn't let him see them. This movie does a great job showing you that really the true victims are the children who are caught up in the middle of this. In a weird sense, it is a feel-good movie, and I was reading some reviews on Letterboxd, and a lot of people who are children of divorced parents were actually talking about how when this movie came out, it actually got them through one of the roughest times of their life. It's cathartic. Like, I had a very cathartic cry while watching this. It's so interesting to me the difference your age can make when it comes to like watching movies, because I got something totally different out of this at 25 versus 15 years ago at 10 years old, which I guess is part of growing up. Then I watched Krampus for the first time. This is based off a German legend where if you are a bad kid, Krampus will come and kill you, essentially. I kind of want to call this horror comedy. I don't know if it's a horror comedy, but it gave me those vibes. I think this movie was okay. I felt like some parts dragged, some parts were really fun. I'm gonna put this here. Actually here. Maybe it might be due to like recency bias because I haven't seen these movies in so long, but no. Actually here. Here I am saying, oh yeah, it's okay, and yet I keep pushing it up. Ah, there we go. Then I watched The Shop Around the Corner, which is a 40s movie starring my husband, Jimmy Stewart. It's about a man and a woman who work together, absolutely hate each other. Each of them have pen pals that they're falling in love with, and they don't know that they're each other's pen pals. This movie's so fucking cute. I reacted to this, but I could not get it edited and out in time for the Christmas season, so look forward to that this year, I guess. I love a good, like, enemies to lovers, but, like, a soft enemies to lovers that this movie is. Like, something so fun and angsty when you see a couple bickering, but you know they're gonna fall in love. I love it. I don't think it flies well in the real world, but something about it in like media, I'm a sucker for it. I fall for it every time. I was gasping. I was all throughout the film. I'm going to put this here, like at number 12. I rewatched the cartoon version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's always fun. Then I watched A Boy Called Christmas, which is a Santa Claus origin story. I didn't like it. It's a slog. It's way too long. It's only actually only an hour and 45 minutes, but it felt like I was watching a 3-hour movie. It is one of the worst movies I watched in 2022, so it deserves a Razzie. Then I watched Robin Robin, which is a stop motion, and it's about a bird raised by a family of mice. And it's a musical, and it's clearly for children, and yet it's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. The animation was cute, and the songs made me really happy, so I'm shortlist Yeah, I'm gonna put this at the low end of shortlist. Then I watched Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio, which is so much better than the Disney live action movie. And it's funny because a Pinocchio made my worst movies of the year. A Pinocchio got a Razzie. I'm gonna give this Pinocchio an Oscar for one of my best movies of the year, and it was nominated for Best Animated Film at the Oscars too. Then I watched a documentary that Netflix has. This was okay. It was just interesting. It was interesting seeing Del Toro's opinions on animation because he's a huge advocate that animation's not just for kids. It's not a genre. It's another medium that he wishes people would take more seriously. And it was nice to see like a well-decorated director say that. He wants people to understand it is like a huge part of cinema. I rewatched the live action How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. And then there was a day where I was just wrapping a bunch of Christmas presents and I needed some background noise. So I rewatched a bunch of the old classic Disney movies, Christmas movies. One of them being Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, always a classic. Then there was like a CGI Rudolph movie I remembered from my childhood. It was called like Rudolph and the Island of Misfit Toys, and I loved it as a kid. Hot garbage as an adult. The animation is ugly. The story is kind of dumb. If it wasn't a rewatch, it would make one of the worst movies of the year, but also was kind of fun and with the nostalgic factor. Wild. Probably will not be rewatching that anytime soon. But then I rewatched Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I rewatched The Little Drummer Boy, which made me cry this year. I usually don't cry watching that, so I don't know what the deal was. I was going through it this year, I guess. I watched A Smoky Mountain Christmas for the first time, which is a Dolly Parton movie she apparently wrote. She finds a bunch of orphans, a witch is involved, which was weirdly out of place and corny. It was very Hallmarky-esque, but it's Dolly Parton, so that helped it a little. I'm gonna put it in At Least You Tried. Dolly Parton, something about it was endearing, so I'll put it right here. I forced my parents to watch Klaus this year, which is a Santa Claus origin story. This is the third year in a row I watched it, and the third year in a row I sobbed my eyes out. Then the Christmas season ended. I watched Strange World, Disney Strange World, which is that new Disney movie that they barely advertise, and it's about a family joining a strange world because they're running out of something that their land runs on. It was okay. It was a very paint-by-numbers type of story. It had some originality, but also at the same time it didn't. It really, really relied on the graphics. The cinematography and the graphics is absolutely stunning. It was such a cool film to look at. Some of the like creature designs were real cool. But that's about it. I don't have a lot of praise for it, quite frankly. I guess I'll leave it here because it is kind of on the high end of At Least You Tried, the low end of an enjoyable watch, so it'll go there. And then the last movie I watched in 2022 made it to my best films list, and that is Glass Onion. But yes, it made it to my top movies of the year. I love, Benoit Blanc. I love him as a character. I love seeing Daniel Craig having fun with a role too. And I don't know why, but him asking, "What just happened?" always makes me laugh every time I see that scene.
What just happened?
There you have it, you guys. Here are the tier rankings of the films I watched in 2022. All 102 of them. So thanks for watching if you made it this far into the video. These are always a bitch to edit, and I believe the raw footage of this is like an hour and a half long, so wish me luck. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe, y'all know the drill. There are a few more tier ranking videos coming at you after this, so look out for those. And without further ado, I'm gonna peace out, and I'll see you guys later because it is 4:30 in the morning. Ciao a tutti.